Yeah, that could happen. How about you?
Well, I'm like Jim in that respect. We spend one day, either Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, together as a family. Usually it's Christmas Day. And then Christmas Eve, I enjoy inviting my friends, particularly friends who don't have family in the area. And so we usually get together with friends on Christmas Eve and enjoy that.
We're going to take a break right here. It's okay, Jace? Think about it. We'll be right back with more of Channel 7 Christmas. Okay, we are back, and you have a question.
Yeah, this is mostly for Gail. I have a little boy, almost 4, and I just recently went back to work, and he doesn't like me leaving. Any suggestions?
You notice where Jason
First
is.
of all, yes. First of all, they don't like you to leave. And were you at home with him? All that? Oh, well, it's going to be even more difficult for him. But it's time, and it's all right. And you know what? My suggestion for you is, do you have friends, or are you in a support group of other mothers who have children your age?
Yeah, it was
Talk
my
to
friend
your
that
friends.
babysat with, you know,
Pardon
the
me?
kids. My girlfriend babysat for the kids, and he doesn't like going over there now, not even with her kids.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is you need to find other mothers who are in your situation, working mothers who have kids your age, so that you can talk with them about the normal things that children do. And it's normal for your child not to want you to leave. Wouldn't you feel worse if he wanted you to leave? Yeah. That's normal. It's healthy.
So feeling guilty is normal.
Feeling guilty is this is easy for me to, it's not easy for me to say. It's a waste of energy. We all feel it. You know what the guilt is? We miss them. What's really true is that we miss being with them, and we feel torn, and we call that guilt, and that's normal too.
They're going to make you feel lousy no matter what they do, right?
Right.
If they want you or if they're indifferent when you leave, sure. Yes.
This is for Gail. I have a 2.5-year-old, and he asked for a computer for Christmas. What do you think?
This one wants a camera, a Canon AE1. I said to my girl, in a moment of insanity, I said, "You think I should get him one?" She said, "Oh, please," you know. So, does your husband want a computer? Yeah. Well, then get your husband the computer, and your son can learn to son or daughter.
Son.
Well, then he can learn with his father to play with the computer.
Or get him walkie-talkies, right, Chase?
Yeah.
Some guys down here have questions. Okay.
How long have you been working?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
All my life. You know what? I've been working since I was 16 years old. And now I'm much older than 16. And I've always worked since my son was born.
Yes.
How long does it take to learn?
To learn to be an engineer? To learn to be what this or what they do, a weatherman? To learn to be on TV? Is that what you mean? Oh, it took, let's see, it took JJ about...
I'm still learning.
Well, yeah.
I'm still learning.
Rob, were you in radio first?
Yeah. Started off in radio for a couple of years, and then finally got into television.
What town?
Waterloo, Iowa.
Waterloo, Iowa. Mm-hmm. In other words, you got out of town desperate, do anything, right?
First stage out of town, yeah, that's right.
I've been there,
Business
right?
is your Waterloo, right?
That's right.
Gail, you, of course, were a practicing psychologist.
Yes.
How did you wind up on television?
I
said,
applied
"Hey, Sonia,
for...
come on in." And you answered anyhow. Is that what it was?
I applied for the job, and I was hired, really. I started guesting on Kelly and Company, as a matter of fact. Remember, I was a guest on some of the first shows, and you were very supportive and encouraging, and a lot of people here were, and I was interested in television, and so I made the move, and here I am.
We got about 2 minutes left, so I'm not going to take any more questions. I'm going to ask some, okay, guys? Girls, is that all right? I'll start with Jim Johnson. What's special about being a parent, Jim? You got a brand new little boy there.
Well, I'm
Wonderful
still
little girl.
learning about it. You know, people tell you before you have a baby, it's going to change your whole life. You're not going to believe it. And you kind of take it with a grain of salt, thinking, yeah, I know it's going to be fun. It's going to be new and interesting. But when you have them, it's true. They really are special. They really are different. It hasn't changed the lifestyle at all. I was anticipating being up all night, not being able to do anything else. But he's been great.
How about... How about you, Rob?
I think I like the surprises. It's nothing is ever the same, and I like to, believe it or not, learning the things that I learned from this guy. That just we'll go to the zoo, or we'll do whatever you do on Saturdays, or we'll paint a room or anything like that. He always comes up with ideas that I just have to see. If I take the time to listen, If I'll back up just a little bit and listen, I like the surprises I get from him.
Gail, a non-professional answer.
When you asked the question, I got very emotional. Being able to love someone unconditionally and to get that back and to influence somebody's growth and development, and just to watch that, it's a miracle. It has really changed my life for the better.
May I thank all 7 of you for being with us this morning. Obviously, Alex is thrilled with the whole thing.
Yeah, isn't he?
Rob, what's it going to be like Christmas? Have you got a long-range
White
forecast?
Christmas. A white Christmas.
White Christmas. How about that? Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Pretty good, huh? We'll be right back.
You can take this job and, well, you've heard of the expression, and while a lot of people may be dissatisfied with their jobs, many others are simply overwhelmed by the day-to-day pressures or boredom associated with their work. Tonight, Channel 7's Dr. Gail Parker begins a series of special reports on job burnout. In her first report, some surprising facts about which jobs are most likely to cause burnout.
What jobs do you think are the most stressful?
Probably clerical and management.
Anything in advertising.
Professional areas where you've got a lot of decisions and pressures on you at any given time.
Air controllers.
The most stressful? Oh, the factory jobs.
Stress-related problems in the workplace cost American industry between $50 and $75 billion each year in low productivity, absenteeism, and company medical expenses. That's $750 for each American worker. Everyone has stress on the job. Some people thrive on it, but others burn out. Ironically, one of the most stressful jobs is one that many people consider the easiest. According to studies, clerical and secretarial workers have one of the highest rates of job burnout.
Those jobs that have a great deal of responsibility and are accorded very low status, for example. People have a lot to do, yet they're not deemed as powerful in the organization or influential in the organization. And yet they feel overloaded. They have to do something and be there constantly, so there's very little flexibility or variability. If you have no control over what you're doing, and yet have a great deal of responsibility for getting a lot of things done, then those tend to be the jobs that are most stressful.
Tomorrow night, we'll talk with some people who are in jobs with a high rate of burnout and find out how they're coping. Gail Parker, Channel 7 Action News reporting.
Bill, there are those high-pressure jobs where a bottle of aspirin and an acid are standard issue. The physical signs of stress are among the warning signs of job burnout. On tonight's special report, Channel 7's Dr. Gail Parker learns which professions should be most aware of these warning signs.
People become sometimes physically ill, sometimes there's like a malaise or a real boredom. Their work performance tends to decrease.
What she's describing are some of the symptoms of job burnout. Not all high-stress jobs fit the burnout profile of lots of responsibility with little control. Government studies of stress-related illness place workers ahead of top executives. When officials checked the health records of 130 occupations, factory workers, housewives, and secretaries topped the list of high burnout jobs.
It's the phones ringing 4 lines and getting the message and running to Xerox and getting to printing and you know, it's a lot of running to do in the building because not everything can be done on the floor or at your desk. And it's pretty difficult at the end of the day to get things done that you needed to get done in one day. And knowing that you've got still Mondays to do on Tuesday plus Tuesdays is coming too.
And I'm here to talk about stress management today.
Some employers are beginning to realize that they lose if an employee burns out. Workshops on stress management are finding their way into more offices. And companies like Michigan Consolidated have established stress counseling programs for their employees. These are cases where change is starting at the bottom, not at the top.
We are addressing needs that the employees have identified themselves, such as, how can you help me deal with stress? So the turnover has reduced some, and I think we're really on the right track with the employees. And frankly, the program has been sort of a preventive medicine for us. We think it's really addressed a problem that could have resulted in non-productivity or absenteeism on the job.
Tomorrow night, we'll see how clerical workers aren't the only ones who suffer from job burnout, and how one auto company not only retooled its plant, but its thinking to help cope with the problem. Gail Parker, Channel 7 Action News, reporting.
Doing the same thing hour after hour after hour, American factory workers know the stress of being on the assembly line. And they, as a matter of fact, are among the people most likely to suffer from a thing called job stress, job burnout. Well, tonight, in the conclusion of her series on job burnout, Channel 7's Dr. Gail Parker reports how changes in the automotive industry are helping people who work under tremendous pressure.
They say, just get the car out, you know. You're running 68 an hour, get them. That's what we got to produce, so many cars an hour.
Do it the way you're told to do it. Do it the way you're supposed to do it. And they didn't listen to you.
That description of the relationship between workers and managers is a familiar one to many Detroiters. For them, there is a wide rift between the people at the top and those at the bottom of the company. Because of the monotony of their jobs and because of a lack of input into the decision-making process, assembly line workers are more prone to job burnout than any other group. But the automobile industry is taking steps to change all of that. When Pontiac started planning its popular new Fiero sports car, the company did more than change the machinery in the building. The automaker's quality of work-life program was designed to bridge that gap between worker and manager. The people on the line were given greater input in the overall operation of the plant. Employees meet weekly with top management to talk about what's working and what's not.
From a management standpoint, we've proven that for the dollars we may lose by shutting our operations down for 30 minutes each shift once a week, it's really not a loss, because our payoff comes from the ideas and the problems that our folks solve for us that lead to improved quality and improved productivity, at the same time while you're developing that happy workforce.
The guy that got 10 or 20 more years, you know, this is a great chance for him because they are listening. And it don't matter who you are, you know, you come up with an idea and they pay attention.
But what happens when you can't find a way to make your job more bearable? Private citizen William Broadhead gave up the title of U.S. Representative 2.5 years ago. It happened when he became burned out with the demands of the fast-paced Washington lifestyle.
The job of a congressman really has no limit to it. I mean, you literally could be attending a meeting from 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight, 364 days a year. I suppose Christmas is one day when you're not expected to do anything. Despite the fact that I really was ambitious politically, I wasn't willing to pay the price.
If you want to avoid job burnout, you have to learn how to manage stress both on and off the job. According to a University of Nebraska cardiologist, there are 2 rules to follow. Number 1, don't sweat the small stuff. Number 2, it's all small stuff. If you can't fight or flee, flow. Gail Parker, Channel 7 Action News, reporting.
Gail Parker is a practicing psychologist who counsels couples, many of whom come to her because of problems, not because they're necessarily happy.
And Robert Scanlon is a clinical psychologist whose specialty is happy marriages. Welcome both of these folks to Kelly and Company. It's the first pair this morning that's not holding hands.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Gail, people come to you, and as I said in the open, that it's probably not because they're happy. So you see unhappy situations. What are the biggest conflicts?
Well, actually, I see
situations, usually couples who want to stay married, who are having difficulty resolving certain conflicts, and they vary from disagreements about how to raise children, disagreements about how to spend money, disagreements about in-laws, for example, and so really what people, disagreements about communication styles, and so people really need to learn how to resolve their conflicts. That's one of the things that I think is very, very important, and that's what people usually bring to me. We're having a problem, we don't know how to get beyond this, can you help us?
Can you spot people when they come to you that really don't want to stay married? Can you spot that right away?
I ask. One of the first things I ask when a couple comes to see me is whether or not they want to stay married or whether or not they want to go their own separate ways. And usually they'll be very honest. And so if a couple says, we like each other, we want to stay married, that's what we're working toward, then obviously you help move them in that direction. And if they say that they really, really, really think they'd like to split or they're not sure, then you deal with them in a very different kind of way. And sometimes people who say they want to split will be able to, sometimes they'll change their minds, but sometimes they don't.
How do you get them back on track? I mean, supposing they come in and they have, well, give me a problem, maybe a money problem, okay, a money problem, which is probably one of the biggest problems. Is that it? I mean, we don't like to think that way, but
it's something that people argue about. It's really a symptom. I mean, it's really not the biggest problem. It's a symptom, yeah.
Okay. How do you steer them into the right path? I mean, how do you get them back on track? How do you work with them?
Well, what I do is I work with my clients to get them to remember why they married each other in the first place and what they liked about each other. And I get them to focusing on what's working in their relationship. One of the biggest mistakes I think we all make is that we're very quick to criticize and to notice what's going wrong and what isn't working. And as long as you focus on what's wrong with your marriage, that's what you'll see and that's what you'll get, and you will feel worse and worse and worse. If you can begin to focus on what's good with your marriage, what you like about your partner, how to resolve problems, then you feel more optimistic and you begin to feel better and you remember why you like each other.
John?
Yeah, Robert Scanlon, you've done a great deal of study of happy marriages in particular. Have you been able to define what makes a happy marriage?
I think you saw it this morning. The couples are their best friends. That sums up everything. These couples are all their own best friends, each other. They are really connected. They have gone through the agony and the ecstasy of working through issues, and they've come to a greater closeness. Another factor is that they are extremely independent. I have found in my research that the more individuals in a marriage have a sense of independence, the greater the intimacy. In other words, the more they bring into the marriage, the more fuller the marriage is. And I think that's a real critical element.
Define what you mean by the more they bring in. Bring in what? Experience?
They know who they are as a person. They have a sense of contributing to the bigger world. To me, our whole purpose of life is of being of service to others. And when people know who they are and they're out serving others, and then when they come back to the marriage, they bring a new sense of fulfillment, which just seems to double. They share in their successes. And that...
Aren't there some inherent dangers in that, though?
How so?
You don't understand what I've been through today? Oh, well, I don't understand. How about me? How do you...
Well, now you're pointing to one of the phases that marriage seem to go through, which is more or less finding out... When couples first get married, it seems to me that they're really caught up with similarities. Then they start moving away from similarities and finding their own individual selves again. It's called off the pedestal. And that's phase 2, I would say, of marriage. And then you've got to find out who you are as individuals. Then you come back together and start working on the relationship with a new sense of who I am and who we are.
Everything is not joyful. I guess I mentioned that earlier, that it would seem as if we're in a kind of a never-never land here on Kelly and Company this morning. Perhaps you had that impression, and perhaps you're sitting back there saying, how did they make it work? Well, call us. If you got a marriage in trouble, give us a call, too. 298-6160. We'd like to hear from you, and we're going to be back with these two and our audience, and you after this. Okay. What?
Well, they were saying what problems come around in our marriage, and mainly is that we've just had a son 9 months ago, And it seems that within the last 9 months, we've been very happy, but we never seem to find time for each other. And it's always run for the baby, bring the baby here, the baby is sick, it's time for the baby to be changed, we have to go somewhere, and we're always concerned about the baby, and less time for us as a couple. And it seems to be a little bit of a struggling time right now for us.
You're both aware of that, huh?
Yes, we both are, and we both try to take the time aside, you know, if it's even a half hour at night to talk and to sit and watch TV alone without the baby. But yet, it always seems like most of our time throughout the day, if it's not coming back from work and, you know, having a working day and coming home, it's mainly being concerned about the baby. And it's not like before. We've been married for 3 years, and the first 2 years, you know, it's still very nice. It's still a very good marriage, I would say. But it still seems like we don't have the time for each other as much as we used to. And I'm anxious to find that time again.
You're scaring this woman to death, Zita. Do you right? She's married 3 years, and her first baby's on the way. So?
Well, I'd like to respond, if I may. One of the things that you need to remember is that the baby will take less time as he gets older. And it's very, very, very important for you and your husband to make sure that you do spend time with each other and make sure that each of you comes first when you can. That's really, really important. Don't stay in the habit of making the baby the focus. But the first year, he will need you more, and as he needs you less, then you'll have to let go. Each of these couples that was up here suggested that they come first with each other, and that's the foundation of a happy marriage, not the children coming first.
Just having had our second daughter, and I now know what colic is all about, that first 3-4 months that little Maddie was born, that my wife and I, sure, we didn't have any time together, but one thing you notice with all these couples, they've touched a lot. And so when we're in crisis together, my wife and I find us touching each other. There are many ways to communicate and many ways to say, I'm with you, I'm close to you. And as you know, with colicky babies, that's highly stressful. It can be. But still the communication, eye contact and touching, it just says it all.
Don't have to acknowledge it. You just should know it. Don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Marilyn?
Well, I kind of have a switch on what we've been talking about. I have a couple here. You've been married twice.
Yes.
And you've been married 3 times. Right. Can you think back now, maybe you, is there something, have you changed? What didn't you have before that you have now?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I think love is the strongest element on earth.
What is love? What is love?
It's having a companion where both agree and can get along and understand each other without arguing all the time.
You don't argue?
Sometimes, but not like I used to.
You think that's because maybe she won't argue? Do you argue with her?
No, he lets me be happy. He really lets me be happy. And I think the key is we have the same religious beliefs, and we let Jesus Christ be first in our lives, and we pray a lot, and we do a lot of things together. We love to do the same things, and he tells me every day he loves me, and that means a lot to me, to have that somebody so romantic.
How long have you two been married now?
13 years. Monday, we celebrated our 13th anniversary, and we will be celebrating again Saturday.
He's hugging her.
We got married on an Easter Saturday, so we'll be celebrating 2 times this week.
Have you?
Yes.
John?
Comment from our professionals on that?
Yeah, I would like to say that I think the foundation of a good marriage is choosing someone you like and choosing someone that you really get along with. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just get married to somebody because of passion, because of a sexual attraction, because of chemistry, they call it, and then struggle for a long time to try to make something work that can't work because they really weren't compatible in the first place and really didn't like each other very well.
Don't you have to have chemistry, quote, unquote, too?
The chemistry, I believe, should be based on friendship first, not sexual attraction. And I think it's very, very, very important for women particularly who are not married and who are looking forward to getting married. I think it's very important for women to keep their distance sexually for a while until they are really certain that this is the man that they really want to be with and that it's mutual. I think that women lose perspective when they get involved sexually too soon, and it causes a lot of problems.
Absolutely. I once heard someone say, I love dating, I get to pretend I'm perfect.
We'll hear that later. You can finish. We'll be right back. And we're back. Robert, you want to continue with what we cut you right
we
off.
were talking about the dating ritual and the quote that I love dating because I can pretend I'm perfect. What I found in the research was that the long-term marriages, that they soon got to a level of friendship and stayed at that level and deepened in the friendship. The need to impress, the need to be extraordinarily exciting, or Mr. and Mrs. Wonderful soon left, and they started relating at an I-thou, if you will, level. Important.
John?
We have Beth on the phone. Beth, go ahead. You're with us.
Hi, my name is Beth, and I'm getting married next Sunday, April 22nd, and I'm 19 and my fiance is 23. And I just wanted, like, 3 things of advice that you could help us with, because since we're a young couple, a lot of people down us, but we've been married, well, we've been dating for 3 years, and I had a crush on him 2 years before that. So it's like my high school sweetheart I'm marrying.
And you would like some tips? 3 pieces of advice. One, I think the most important piece of advice is remember your friendship and always work to strengthen and deepen the friendship that exists between the two of you, because there will be problems no matter what, and the friendship will help sustain you through a lot of the difficulties.
Also, what's important is make sure that the values are similar. Values get you through to the 50th anniversary. I mean, you can have closeness, you can play together well, you can solve problems well, but without that values in agreement, the long-term relationship is in jeopardy.
What about the same religion? We've heard this before. We heard it from many people that they're the same religion. Important?
I've seen the spirituality be important. The exact same religion, I don't see it as that important. It definitely
Well, I think when
helps.
people say the same religion, I think they mean we're both Jewish, we're both Gentile, we're both whatever we are, right?
I think it makes it a lot easier. Again, it's a similarity in values and a way of approaching values, and so when children come into a marriage, that's when religious issues and monetary issues and a lot of issues become important again in a new way. And so I think that it's important to have similar backgrounds.
Yeah, all of our married couples who are with us, they have something they want to add to this. You had a hand up.
Yes, I did. You were talking about, oh, God, now I forgot. Isn't it the way? You were talking about being friends. And really, Al and I are friends, but there's so much more. And he is so, I think respect is important in a marriage.
Yes.
That's part of friendship, isn't it?
And allowing yourself space, even though we are together all the time now that our children are grown, we still respect each other.
Absolutely.
And space. I go out to the garage to work on a birdhouse. I got to give her a kiss before I go out.
Absolutely.
You know, it cost me $5 to get this girl.
What?
It cost me $5 to meet this girl.
What'd you do?
Well, she'd go by our store and I'd say hi, and she'd look at me and stick her nose up in the air, and she went next door to play the piano. So I paid them $5 to introduce me so she'd talk to me.
You know, in our day, when I was 14, a young lady never said hi to a guy that said hi until she was properly introduced. And as I said, the minute we were introduced, I knew he was going to be the father of my children.
Now when you're 14 and you see one, you go home and say, who is that? And they tell you, and you call them up. Marilyn?
I have a couple here that are married, how long, 8?
8 months.
8 months?
Yes.
Well, you just hold, you want to talk. You've been wanting to talk for the whole show. We're going to give you a chance. We'll be right back.
I would just like to say, Malcolm and I have been married for 8 months, and we are happy and still trying. People will downfall you and put your marriage down, but you got to put behind what everyone else say and do what your heart say. And the most important thing in a marriage is trust. If you don't have trust, to me, you have no marriage.
Malcolm, do you agree?
You trust me? You come with...
Why shouldn't she?
She leaves her job to come to my job to see what I'm doing.
She what?
Leaves her job to come to my job to see what I'm doing.
That is true love.
How long did you two go together?
We've been knowing each other since we've been 5 and 6.
5 and 6?
I'm 16 and he's 18, and we love each other very much.
I'll bet you everybody said you're too young.
Oh, yes, my mom, everyone. Yes, sure did. But we stick together and we try. We have our arguments now. Don't get us wrong. We do have our disagreements.
We had a good one last night.
What did you fight about last night? Can you tell me?
We don't remember.
But the good thing about it is making up. That's the best part of it, is making up.
And obviously you made up, right?
He did.
He did?
Yeah, he always makes
He always the one to make the first step?
Oh, yes. He's a sucker at his heart.
John.
Marilyn, I have a couple here who are going to have their 50th anniversary in September. He doesn't want to talk, he says. Then he just said, uh-oh. Would you stand up for both of you, please? Very quickly, because we have hardly any time, but you've been listening to this young couple over here 8 months. What do you think about what you said about trust?
Well, you really have to have trust, but cooperation, trust, sincerity, I mean, those are the key things to marriage, you know. And regardless of what anybody say, just stick together. Our first year was rough, you know, but after that, now we're just good friends. We've been knowing each other.